Things just took a tough turn in San Antonio as while the Spurs get a big win against the Detroit Pistons, all news is centered around star performer in the Summer League, David Jones-Garcia, as there was a team that no one could have predicted gunning for his services, leaving Spurs fans questioning whether he will even have a spot on the roster. We got to break down this new report and his unbelievable performance, but it's not just him. Looking at another Spurs prospect who is poised for a breakout Summer League, things have hit a bit of a wall. We got a lot of stuff we got to dive into, all coming up in this episode of Spurs Digest. And look, we're here to talk all summer long about all the latest Spurs news, and we are pushing 10,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for watching every single day. Yes, it's nighttime after a Summer League game. Carter Bryant's not playing, Dylan Harper's not playing, but you know who is playing the game? It's us here at Spurs Digest. We're here to talk to you. Let's start with, well, let's just look at the box score, because there's a few guys I want to talk about here. And, it was interesting seeing a few guys get to play tonight. Dexter Dennis was a bit of a fun watch tonight, I gotta say. Some interesting guys off the bench. Jameer Nelson Jr., who had a good game earlier in the Summer League, kind of didn't really get it going for a bunch of games, came back and had a nice one there today. I saw Chibuzo Agbo, a guy I made a video on right before we signed him to the Summer League squad. I was hoping for more, but hey, what can you do? It was really interesting, when you don't get those stars. Well, you do have David Jones-Garcia, but I promise we'll talk about him in a bit. You get to see some of these other guys, and it's always fun to see guys like that in Summer League, but there's one guy I wanted to focus on, and that's Harrison Ingram. And I don't like that I'm just taking my time here and just saying, look how bad Harrison Ingram has looked this Summer League, because I don't think it's all been bad. He had an incredible game where he had, 15 rebounds? He had a crazy double-double. My problem is that, not every Spurs prospect can be great. Not every Spurs prospect is going to play a long time with the team. The team that is right now, they have some open roster spots. We have 2 open roster spots and a couple extra two-way spots, right? So it's like, we have space for players to make this team. And there's a lot of guys on this Summer League team that are gunning for that two-way spot. Riley Minix, based on his benching today, I think, based on his performance, regardless, that's pretty much a lock that Riley Minix is going to be one of these guys the Spurs sign. David Jones-Garcia we'll get to in a minute, because there's a very interesting twist with that story. I'd still love him. There's a lot of people that still love him, but stick around for that. But Harrison Ingram, I really thought he was going to push for it. I really thought he was going to make a push to be one of these last few signings. Because, look, he had, I think, 1 game in the NBA this year, but he was great in the G League. I mean, look, we know with Harrison Ingram, the scoring is never going to be his big thing. It never has been, it never will be. The guy doesn't have a fast first step. He's 6'5", but he plays bigger than he is. He's athletic, he can jump. 13 points, 9.5 boards. I feel like we just look at that and people look at his stat lines, and if they don't watch him play, they assume he's like a 7-foot center. The dude is just not. He's smaller, he is bulkier, and he can go out there and get you some crazy boards. He can get some assists too. He's not a bad passer, and he's an incredible hustle defender. And one of the narratives that I was pushing heading into this Summer League was like, Harrison Ingram, look, he's going to be hungry. He's going to be ready to grab one of these open spots on the Spurs roster, whether a two-way or maybe that final roster spot. I don't even know if he's going to get either. He might get a two-way deal, because regardless, he was great in Austin this year, and I think he'd do good again. I don't think he's necessarily played himself completely off a spot in this team. And I know the hopes are never that high for like a second-round pick, later second-round pick, and Spurs have done good with him in the past, but for me, he didn't show up the way I wanted him to. And if we take a look across all 7 games this summer, he shot 34.5% from the field, 37% from 3, 57% from the free throw line, when he shot 37% from the free throw line last year. The efficiency is just not there, and we knew the offensive efficiency wasn't going to be there. It's not bad at the G League level. At the NBA level, even in the Summer League, it's just not clicking. And honestly, these stats are kind of propped up by that one big game. So I'm really sad to see this. I really was hoping for a lot from Harrison Ingram, and I still think he's got something left in the tank. And look, I'm not here to detract anything from him. I think he gave it his all, and I'm really hoping that he can find his footing somewhere. So I'd like you to leave some love for Harrison Ingram. Just one of these guys that I wanted to talk about that I wasn't super thrilled with, but I really hope bounces back. But another guy I was absolutely thrilled with is David Jones-Garcia. What the heck happened here? This dude went off this entire Summer League. You don't need me to tell you that. You can watch the highlights, some from tonight, some from a couple of the other games, but there's some big news with him, right? And before we dive into that, I just want to highlight what people are saying here. David Jones-Garcia, one of the players who was impressed Jack Riley the most this Summer League, nailing an extremely tough triple. Per game stats, 21.5, 6.5, 4 assists, 1.5 steals, 51.6 50-90 splits. You want to talk about the peak of efficiency, the pinnacle? It's David Jones-Garcia, my goodness. And in the finale of the Spurs Summer League this year, 23.6 boards, 3 assists, 8 for 14 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3. As Spurs Muse says, buddy needs a roster spot. And again, you look at the roster, do you think he deserves that one-way spot? You know, one of these final couple roster spots the Spurs have? I don't know. I think the Spurs might rather patrol the buyout market. I mean, am I crazy for suggesting a Ben Simmons with the biannual exception? I think I am. I think, and we've had some talks about Ben Simmons on the channel before, but regardless, the buyout market might be open to add some extra depth. But David Jones-Garcia, like, you know, ball dominant guy, he's going to go out there and get his buckets, which is exactly why Olympiacos is in talks with David Jones-Garcia, who has averaged, now those averages have changed again after tonight. To be fair though, he put up 23, 6, and 3, so it didn't really change that much. His scoring went up a bit, his boards and assists went down a bit, but regardless, about 21, 6, and 4 this summer league. He'll push for an NBA deal in the next 3 days. If not, Olympiacos is ready to make a move. And you have to imagine after this game, again, just going 20 point. The dude was a monster in the G League that the Spurs are probably, well, people are saying the Spurs are waiting there with a contract for him, right? And you think so, right? And I start to wonder, because if you're David Jones-Garcia, you might make more money in the NBA. You don't know, on a one-year deal. Or at least you get to play in the best league in the world. The NBA is the best league in the world. Sorry, Olympiacos, that doesn't go to you guys. The EuroLeague is not the best league in the world, as much as it is fun to watch. But if you're David Jones-Garcia and you want recognition, you want to be a baller for a team, you want to have a chance to put up all-star tier numbers, you did it in the G League, but do it in front of crowds that are some of the most insane in the world at Olympiacos, you know, I honestly could see this happening, which sucks because I don't want to see him go. I'd love to see him don a Spurs jersey, again, whether on a two-way deal so he can go dominate in Austin with the likes of Riley Minix, Harrison Ingram, whoever else ends up playing there, or even as that kind of third string 2, I guess, for the San Antonio Spurs. That's kind of what he'd fit as, maybe a 3, but again, we saw him play a bit of point guard in the summer league. I don't think he'd do that at the NBA level, but he doesn't really have the size to play the 3 in the NBA, but he plays a game like he's a small forward. It's a bit of a weird thing, right? And these fringe guys between positions, they don't always work, especially when they're lower tier, but hey, I think he could be a backup too, like a third string 2, and it could work. But yeah, I thought this was very interesting because if I'm the Spurs, I want to pry him away from Olympiacos because I want to say, look, I'm the team to bring him in. And I look, if you guys have been watching this show, you know I wasn't necessarily sold that David Jones-Garcia was going to come out here and steal a roster spot and be amazing in the NBA. And I still think a lot of the stuff that he was doing in the summer league is not going to fully fly at the NBA level. But honestly, I've come around on it. Like, what an incredible story, right? And it's not like the stuff he's doing is completely insane. Like, oh no, that would never fly at the NBA level. There are some things. He missed an open layup tonight. He has a couple of bad reads. But again, you're playing with a bunch of new players around you in a new system you've never played with before. And the San Antonio organization has always done a good job of helping you integrate with your new teammates, with your new systems, all this stuff. So, like, why not? Why not try and get Jonathan Simmons 2.0? And now David Jones-Garcia, a little less athletic than Jonathan Simmons, but a bit better of a higher end scorer. So to bring a bit of a scoring punch in case you have an injury, something like that, especially with maybe not as many good G League options to bring up as that kind of third string scoring option off the bench. I'm all for it, and I'd like to take him away from Olympiacos. But hey, again, if I'm him, I might be considering something like that, but we will only know once that contract is signed. I want to hear your thoughts on all this down below. What do you think about Harrison Ingram? What do you think about David Jones-Garcia? Do you have any other thoughts about Summer League? Now that we're done, like, I don't know what's next. There's a lot of stuff coming in the future, I'm sure. We're going to be monitoring the buyout market. The Spurs still have some two-way and some end-of-the-bench roster spots to fill, and it'd be pretty crazy to see what they end up doing. But for now, that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. And if you enjoyed, look, if you could do one thing, it's hit that free subscribe button. Thank you so much for tuning in every single day. We're here with the Spurs content, whether you like it or not, every day this offseason. Thank you for being here. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.